KBLA Talk 1580.
What is the world coming to? Seems like everyone is running from the truth. We just stand up and fight, walk into the night. We're the people, we can do it if we try. I know we can do it. Somebody asked me, why do we have to go through it? It's just the test of our faith. But we're living day to day. We don't know where, we don't know when. But it's coming back again. Oh, yes, it is. It's late me. Oh, God. It's time for you to return. Oh, Lord, me. I know. Time to make a change.
Oh, yeah, it is. We count it all joy for you to join us on this very day. Dr. West and I will be continuing our exploration on, are American workers lazy? Are they not working quite hard enough? You know, the 3, 4, 5 jobs that some people have, especially if you are in the gig economy, the fact that we work more hours than any of our industrial nation counterparts. But, you know, you got somebody by the name of Elon Musk saying, hey, lazy Americans, you're not working hard enough. And is colonized. I mean, I remember watching the Black Panther, especially the first one, and the whole notion of colonizer came up. This nation has a history of being a colonizer or an imperial power that Dr. West talks about all the time. It seems from President Donald J. Trump's conversations and press conferences that, you know, he's thinking about taking over the Gaza and just kicking out the Palestinians. So do you displace people from their land? And do you have a right to colonize that land? It's reminded me of Manifest Destiny and all of that good stuff. The White Man's Burden, which was part of a poem that Dr. West and I can get into. Oh, I wonder how Americans feel about that. But before we bring all of that good stuff forward, or interesting stuff forward, the doctor is in the house. Dr. West, always good to be with you. What is on your heart, your soul, or your mind on this day?
Well, my dear sister, I love how you always start with joy, because it's hard to hold on to your joy sometimes when you see all of these lies and crimes, lies coming out of mouths and crimes coming out of military equipment deployed by various collaborators. You think, for example, anytime you talk about displacing a people and moving a people, that's a war crime. Then you talk about gaining access to their land, that's stealing their land. That's 2 war crimes right there. And it means then that, of course, international law doesn't mean anything. Rule of law doesn't mean anything. It's all raw force. It's all raw power. The only way you try to get people to leave is like the Trail of Tears, the Cherokees under Andrew Jackson, who was Trump's favorite president alongside McKinley, right? You push them out and you end up with tears, blood, murder, mayhem. Then you take over their land. You say, oh, wow, you know, that's in the American grain in terms of Manifest Destiny and American imperial subjugation of precious indigenous peoples. And this is exactly what's happening to the precious Palestinian brothers and sisters, mediated with Netanyahu and others. But Netanyahu comes out of a tradition. His father was an assistant for Jabotinsky, who argued for the destruction, the annihilation, or the pushing out, the displacement, the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And it's going to it's going to lead toward much more intense struggle. I think people around the world are not going to put up with that. It's going to be thousands and thousands in the streets in the States, and then, of course, millions around the world, because these war crimes, as they proliferate, people just can't put up with them, and understandably so. And it's very interesting. You know, I was looking at Trump being so deeply concerned about the Afrikaners. Now, they less than 10% of the population. They have over 70% of the land. How did they gain access to that land?
In South Africa,
In
because I want to
South
make
Africa.
sure.
Exactly. Well, they took it. They stole it. But Trump says, no, we got to make room for them. We got to make room for those immigrants. We got to make room for those refugees. Now, that's just outright white supremacy. It's just raw white supremacy. So you can be so concerned about one group of people, namely folk who stole land from precious black Africans. And then when it comes to Mexicans and El Salvadorians and others at the southern border, no, you demonize them. They're nothing but criminals. Ooh, what did Malcolm used to say? Lord, people are going to have us looking at the victims and saying they're criminals.
That's right.
And looking at the criminals and saying they're victims. That's how topsy-turvy, that's how twisted and distorted so much of the media can actually be. And we just have to tell the truth on Truth Time. If we the last voices in the world.
Yeah, we're telling that truth, Doc, and we're linking present day activities to historical connections. We want people to see that definitely nothing, absolutely nothing new under the sun. And all of this should be disturbing to us. And it's all connected. That same energy is in the Sudan and in the Congo. And one of the reasons why Africa, the continent, is so fractured right now is because European nations came in and there was a scramble for the continent of Africa because of all of its precious resources. So if people ask, why can't they just get along? Well, one of the reasons why they just can't get along is because European nations came in and said, I'll take this part, you take that part. One of the popes split up the continent and told, France, you get this part. The British, you get this part. Remember the saying that the sun never set on the British Empire. One of the reasons why is because they carved out places where people of color were primarily and just took over those nations as if those people were subhuman, could not govern themselves, did not have culture, language, religion, love, all of that. When you dehumanize people, it definitely gives you the power to just take over their stuff. Just took over their stuff. And that stuff ripples over today. You know what, Doc, when we come forward, we are going to continue this robust discussion about imperialism and colonialism in the 21st century and our workers. We got to get to this, Doc. We got to get to our American workers, lazy. You're listening to Truth Time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Speaking truth to power and to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
They can do what they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips. I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then You spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Are you facing an unexpected financial emergency? You need WeFixMoney.com. WeFixMoney.com could help you get up to $3,000 fast. WeFixMoney.com is free to use, available 24/7, and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to the name you trust, WeFixMoney.com. If you need emergency cash up to $3,000 for bills or anything else, type WeFixMoney.com directly in your browser. That's WeFixMoney.com.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Right now. So, Doc, before we get into the colonialism and, just the modern day colonialism, imperialism, let's just talk a little bit about the American worker. A lot of gig work is going on now. People cannot find steady employment. There was an article in Politico that highlighted how even during the 2024 presidential campaign, while Democrats were saying that Bidenomics worked and reading the tea leaves from what economists were saying, things are well on Wall Street, but everyday people knew that things were not well in the hoods all over this country where people are misunderstood. It is finally coming out that some of the numbers that the feds were using skewed what was really happening. In other words, by way of example, they were counting the part-time or occasional work of homeless people or unhoused people, for example, and counting that as people who are gainfully employed. And so it definitely skewed the numbers, and the Democrats resisted. The Republicans just did not care. And now you have an administration that wants to put all of the blame on progress on working class people. And Elon Musk simply just saying American workers, and Vivek is engaged in this conversation too. If only American workers, if only we worked harder, we would be much better. And some people are buying into that.
Yeah, in the last 45 years, productivity has expanded exponentially. Wages have stagnated. But that's a certain kind of immorality and even social criminality, that you would have workers who are intensifying their productivity and the profits go to the wealthy and their wages stagnate, and which means, of course, significant number of them decline. So that's the kind of organized greed that we have to highlight. Anytime you talk about people being lazy or workers not doing their job, you can be assured that they're usually greedy bosses who are trying to get all they can out of these workers in order to buy their next yacht, their next mansion, their next huge car, whatever it is, electric or non-electric or whatever it is. So that this kind of distraction that doesn't want to zero in on the greed at the top, it wants to zero in on the deficiencies of poor and working people. That's the kind of discourse that we have to always resist.
Yeah, no, we really do. These little, back to what you said about Minister Malcolm X, having you worship those who are the abusers and being mad at those who are being abused. I mean, Republicans certainly have cornered the market, at least in this moment, on sound bites and also how to in a visceral way stir people up to target the people who are very much in pain. And although most Americans know how hard they're working and how hard it is to make ends meet, some of them will start to buy into this because there's something in the American psyche that has been programmed to believe that the more wealth or financial wealth, because we could describe wealth in many ways. I think health is part of wealth, relationships, spirituality. There's several pillars to wealth. But in this case, I'm talking about wealth as purely monetized wealth. We can start to internalize, and many of us do in this country, internalize a wealthy person as somebody who, one, I can aspire to be like, and two, they work so much harder than me, and that's why they have obtained wealth. I am not doing enough. And the thought process is wrong. I get it why we are seduced that way, but that is not necessarily true. And not to say that ultra wealthy people don't work hard, that there is a proletariat, there is the workers are a part of the equation of making any business. And most businesses start off very small. You got to start somewhere, no doubt about it. But when you grow to become a mammoth company, and along the way, you forget the people who were on your side and behind you and in front of you, helping that business to grow. And then you decide to treat those employees unfairly. You don't want them to share in the bounty. There is something wrong with that. And so it is important for the American people not to buy into what Elon Musk, Vivek, or any of them have to say about the work ethic of Americans. Empirically, the data shows that we work more hours than workers in any other industrialized nation. And that don't make us better than them because they got common sense. What's to say? Why can't poor people, working class people have off time, have leisure time, be able to tiptoe through the tulips all every now and then? What is it about the psyche of both us and people who are ultra wealthy that we buy into the fact that because you don't have, 7 figures or more, that you don't deserve respite?
Well, a big part of it is that, see, Musk and others are very much like the robber barons of the 19th century, which is they want to crush trade unions. They want to crush the collective power of workers to bring power and pressure to bear. When any greedy robber baron talks about how lazy workers are, the response of workers ought to be not just be organized, shut the place down. Let's have a strike, have a national strike, have a regional strike, and see how long the businesses are sustained, to see how long the greedy bosses gain access to their profits. Then all of a sudden you humble the bosses when you are that strong organizationally. That's why they tend to hate unions, want to crush unions, demonize unions, talk about unions as communists or whatever term they can come up with to try to devalue and try to demean a working people. So that our response, being solidarity with workers as working people, is let us show you just how diligent we are, the opposite of lazy.
Yeah, grandma used to say, I can show you better than I can tell you. Let's take our audience, our family back down memory lane. The Summer of Solidarity was just last year. And there were so many strikes and organizing efforts, especially among some of the biggest trade unions in this country. The Teamsters and UAW come first to mind. And when I tell you the UAW played that beautifully, they did what you call rolling strikes. Like you said, we're going to show you. And UAW, the big three, ain't want none of that. They started that tough talk, but they retreated very, very quickly because they knew what the outcome of that was going to be. That was smooth. I mean, that was beautiful. And there is some talk, Doc, about having a general strike in 2028.
2028. Should we need one right away? By 2028, we all be gone at the rate.
Yeah.
The rate this neo-fascism is escalating, we all be gone by that time. No, we need one much more quicker than that. But you have to have organization. You have to have people coming together. You have to have trustworthy leadership.
And most people are not in labor unions, contrary to popular belief. Now, unions have gained in support. The American people support unions now more than they have like over the last maybe a little less than 50 years. But the American people really do support unions. And when the UAW was having this epic fight with the big three, Gallup did polling, other polling, notable polling places conducted polls, and it was very clear that the American people, when asked the question, are you on the side of the big three or are you on the side of UAW? The overwhelming majority of the American people across political ideology sided with the UAW members, which is in fact a good sign. I want folks to understand the majority, less than 10%. I mean, actually, union membership has gone down because of the crushing policies and the way that these corporations conduct themselves and the way that they have bought off the Congress, because this is in fact a federal issue, and also those in the presidency, both Democrats and Republicans. And there was a workers' rights, the bill that was supposed to pass that did not pass when the Democrats controlled both chambers. Now, the National Labor Relations Board, I will give the Biden administration credit on that. They had folks appointed to that board that did phenomenal work on behalf of working class people. Like, for example, when Amazon workers were filing charges and others who were trying to unionize in their workplace, I got to give it to them. That National Labor Relations Board did their thing. It has since been gutted. And part of the reason why it was gutted is because Democrats do not know how to use power. And right before the Trump administration came in, you had the likes of Joe Manchin, West Virginia, and Sinema, Arizona, that voted against seating the last, what would have been Biden appointee to the National Labor Relations Board. Again, we're pointing to the fact, Doc, that policy makers and these governmental entities, if in fact they are doing their job to protect the American people, and the National Labor Relations Board is one example of that, they matter.
They matter indeed. And unfortunately, we don't have any political party of a major sort that really fights for workers consistently. You see, the Free Choice Act to make it easier for workers to unionize. Democrats didn't push that. We ain't talking about the voting rights bill, let alone George Floyd Jr. bill. But here in regard to trade union, they didn't push that. It was true for Obama. He said he was going to do it, he didn't do it. Biden said they're going to do it, he didn't do it. Then the National Railway workers were organizing. They were going to go on strike. Executive order. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal to have that strike.
Can you stay right there on that one, Doc? Stay on that one. Stay on that. The rail workers wanted to use their power. The only power workers have, not the only, but the major thrust of their power is to withdraw their labor. And I want folks to remember this, that the type of work that they do, besides delivering bodies and delivering goods and services, would shut this economy down. Their leveraging point at that time, they asked the bosses for is to be able to have paid sick leave. That's all they asked for, Doc.
All they asked.
They had zero. I want people to understand that. Zero. Working crazy hours with such great responsibility and force of a machine of that magnitude that could destroy. That is all they were asking for. And the Democrats, let me just say this again, the Democrats stood in their way. President Biden told the democratically controlled Congress, we're not doing it. We are not going to let them strike. Now, because of the impact it would have on the economy, but Doc, I want to flip this thing around. So why are you taking this to the workers instead of taking it to the bosses?
Absolutely. Well, we know why. Because the bosses are the donors of both parties, and both parties have a noose around their necks. So when it comes to precious, priceless working people, let alone the poor, I mean, good God almighty, can you imagine all of our homeless brothers and sisters, unhoused brothers and sisters, people working two jobs, 60% of American citizens living paycheck to paycheck in the richest nation in the history of the world. And you got multi-billionaires talking about how lazy they are. You say, oh my God.
Come on.
This is worse than a B movie.
It really is, Doc. I mean, when you can't even get off day on the job of that magnitude, I mean, something is wrong. And so Republicans were back there salivating. We're not letting Republicans off the hook, but at the time that this was going down, like we just telling you the story. At the time that this was happening, Democrats were in full control. You had a few U.S. senators and you had a few U.S. House of Representative members that voted on the side of the workers or the rail workers. But by and large, the rest of them sided with the bosses, sided with the president of the United States, Joseph R. Biden, who was wrong all day long on this. You taking away the only leverage that those workers had, which was their ability to strike just to get off time. I mean, just to have sick time. Listen, I'm telling you, I almost want to speak in tongues, Doc. You know what? I am going to save that for when we come forward. We will continue this conversation about workers and how hard American workers work and to not believe the hype. And then we're going to talk about the 21st century version of imperialism right before our eyes. It's not just about something you read in your history books. You're listening to Truth Time on KBLA Talk 1580.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not driving you, man.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Trump administration is scrapping Biden-era Title IX guidance on NIL revenue sharing, allowing schools to pay athletes based on sports value. College football and men's basketball will benefit most. Former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is again seeking a presidential pardon after Trump pardoned Rod Blagojevich. Speaking in Chicago, he also advocated for others who've served their time. Jackson, who was Black, resigned in 2012 and served 30 months for campaign fraud. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams' lawyer Alex Spiro is slamming prosecutors after the Department of Justice dropped the corruption case, calling it political and baseless. He accused them of inventing a crime, while the Department of Justice cited the case's impact on Adams' focus on crime and the migrant crisis. And rapper Cardi B is blaming President Trump for her ruined designer heels at the big game, saying Secret Service made it hard to get around. She's weighed in on politics before, criticizing Biden but supporting Kamala Harris. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The final head coach vacancy in the NFL was filled Wednesday morning. Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore was hired by the New Orleans Saints. Moore's hiring caps an unflattering offseason coaching cycle for the NFL. Of the 7 NFL openings for a head coach position, only 1 went to an African-American. Former Detroit Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn was hired by the New York Jets. The NFL will start the 2025 season with only 5 black head coaches, down from 6 in 2024. I'll do the math for you. Only 5 of the NFL's 32 teams have a black head coach. That's 15% of the workforce among NFL head coaches. The other 4 black head coaches are Mike Tomlin at Pittsburgh, Todd Bowles at Tampa Bay, Raheem Morris with Atlanta, and DeMeco Ryan at Houston. The NFL has been a strong believer in diversity, equity, and inclusion, but a lot more work needs to be done. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I have a dream today.
The road to freedom wasn't paved with just big moments. It was built day to day, step by step, voice by voice. This February, experience Black History Month through the stories that shape Los Angeles and beyond. KBLA Talk 1580, where Black history lives.
Attention Los Angeles County renters and landlords. Starting January 1st, 2025, there are new rules limiting rent increases for rent-stabilized units in unincorporated LA County. Most rent-stabilized units will have rent increases capped at 2.565% from January through June 2025, with exceptions for qualified small property landlords and luxury units. To learn more about the new changes, visit rent.lacounty.gov. This message is brought to you by Los Angeles County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs.
February is Black History Month, a time to celebrate the achievements and resilience of Black communities. But it's important to address health disparities in diseases like asthma. In the U.S., Black Americans are approximately 5 times more likely than white Americans to be hospitalized for asthma. But there's hope. Managing your asthma is possible with regular checkups, using prescribed medications correctly, avoiding asthma triggers, and creating an action plan with your healthcare professional. Take control. Your health is your power. To learn more about asthma, visit luma-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Yeah, very robust discussion about American workers, how hard they work. And Dr. West and I are making sure you do not believe the hype. We are some of the hardest working people on the planet, and that is not necessarily a good thing. Some of those other nations accommodate their workers, their siestas and other things like that that help you mentally and spiritually be able to do your work. There have been some experimentation, Doc, across the world with the four-day work week. There have been some corporations here in America who have experimented with that and have found that their workers are even that much more productive. I do believe in the 4-day work week. I believe that your ability to take respite should not be based on how many zeros you have in the bank. It is that you are a human being and you deserve the ability to replenish and to recharge yourself. So please, you guys, do not fall for the okie doke, the literal term that's being put out there by among some of the elite class, just to split up working class people. Like, I want to turn to some of our commenters. I do want to say, who are watching us on YouTube, I do believe in people's right to be wrong, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And one I want to address is the Big Cheese, who says that I don't believe I've ignored the demands of the Black community and for reparations. I don't think they understand. You and I were keynote speakers at the ADOS conference last year in New Orleans. It was quite a gathering of folks that are dedicated to, under the leadership of Dr. Yvette Cornel, pushing for reparations for the descendants of enslaved people. I believe very much, and have been on that front line for a while, fighting as others have. Some are more in the forefront, but the belief that descendants of enslaved people deserve to be paid reparations. And if they were listening yesterday, I think we were talking about Black Wall Street folks. Start with them first, since they were children when their town, their community was terrorized and bombed and stuff stolen from them. Just their very livelihoods were stolen. But Doc, do you remember that good time that we had with the ADOS at the ADOS Foundation?
Oh, absolutely, indeed. And the fact that, for so many of us, it's been a matter of decades. I've been part of reparations movement for 45 years, going back to Queen Mother Moore right here in Harlem. She was the mayor of Harlem. In the symbolic, metaphoric way. But same is true with Randall Robinson, with Trans-Africa, that I was on that, working with Charles Ogletree, one of the great legal minds and freedom fighters in the context of struggling for reparations. And so it's just natural to be able to make the connection with Sister Yvette and the others who are calling for reparations, Antonio and others, Professor Doherty, one of the great minds in economics, has been talking about this issue for so long.
Dr. Derek Hamilton.
People just need to catch up, get a sense of what we
Yeah.
do.
And some of these people think they started this fight. This fight been going on way before many of these people were even born or even thought of. Let me throw out Dr. Derek Hamilton, the stratification economist himself at the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy. So there have been many academics and many activist types on the front lines before many of us were ever born fighting this fight. But
this
Big
is our
T,
dear brother at the new school, right?
yeah, that's our dear brother at the new school.
Oh Lord, yeah.
Yeah. Of which I'm a part of that institute. But I salute, or I accept people's right to be wrong. So Big T, you got a right to be wrong and talk all that smack, but I'm just gonna check you when you do. On the positive note, Doc, we have Blessed Peacemaker. Greetings from Kenya, Dr. West and Sister Nina. Blessed Peacemaker, thank you for always bringing a positive vibe in our thread. We appreciate you. Felicia Smith, good afternoon to both of you. And she put some roses behind that good afternoon. We have Alakoti. I hope I'm pronouncing that first name right. Speaks. Salute, family. Grand day. Now, Shayla Johnson, Doc, is asking us a very deep question. So I do want us to marinate on this for a little bit. She said, do you both really feel that Harris's loss was the best outcome for the past election? Any third party vote ultimately meant Trump would win.
No, I think that the measure of Trump winning meant that the third party vote had no impact whatsoever in terms of those two parties. But the third party vote actually had to do with raising the issues that Harris and Trump should have raised, and they didn't want to raise. You see, genocide in Gaza, what's going on with Rwanda right now, and the collaborating with the U.S. Army and others trying to crush people's movement. Those are the kind of issues we were raising. Poor issues of poverty, issues of corporate greed, and so forth. So that no, I don't think the third party candidates really had any impact on who won, because our numbers were not that much. In certain contexts it could be, but our numbers were really not that high at all. We were trying to raise our voices. That's the key.
In a representative democracy.
Absolutely. And we
or
said
republic,
but explicitly that the Democratic Party seemed to be leading the world toward World War III, given its obsession with China, its obsession with Russia, and given its support of genocide in Gaza. And we said the Republican Party was leading the USA to a new civil war. And my hunch is that we were probably right on both accounts.
And that the courage that it took for you and your family to just step out there and be on the front lines in that way, I definitely salute you for doing that. You could have easily caved in on one sense, or just played the game the way others wanted you to play it in terms of gaining traction, because the duopoly is so strong. But you said, no, my heart, my soul, my moral compass, I can't do it. You were part of those candidates, and empirically, so because people can have their own set of opinions, you're not supposed to have your own set of facts. If people go back and look at the data, to your point, I just want to bring that on home, that the third party candidates, the people who have the courage to run it's not against the duopoly, because as American people, we don't owe the duopoly anything. Do people understand that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are private corporations? Let me just say that one more good time. They are private corporations that have been given charge over our public elections. They are private clubs. They're not written into the Constitution. They are not public entities. They are private. Now, if we believe that we live in a representative democracy, a republic, then people like Dr. West or Marianne Williamson or RFK Jr., for that matter, all the folks that decided I'm going to run. Congressman Dean Phillips, who in fact did run as a Democrat, and they maligned that brother so tough. He sounded along. He was the only actively elected person that decided to run. But look at the courage that it took for any of you to run. And you had the private corporation known as the Democratic Party decide to kick y'all off the ballot. You had to spend money that you were raising, all of that stuff. So we're trying to teach y'all on Truth Time. Private entity that you have a right to be a member of, but when that entity is not serving your interests. So big ups to the people like Dr. Cornel West and so many others who decided to get on the front line and to give the American people another choice. When you combine the votes that they all got collectively across the country, it's still, if all of those votes, if you want to assume that those votes, because there's no guarantee that the people who voted for you or voted for Marianne or voted for RFK or any of the others, Dean Phillips, ain't no guarantee that voter was going to vote for Harris. Most likely they were not going to vote for Harris or Biden, which is why they picked you and some of your other colleagues. I need people to understand this. But why? And I think Sister Shayla is asking this question legitimately. So I want her to know I'm not up in arms about her question at all. I just want people to think that we say we want people to have choice, but then when people exercise choice, we want to police the choice that they exercise. The Republican Party nor the Democratic Party has a right to have a monopoly on our elections, but they psyching folks out to think that they do. And the Democratic Party's loss is on them. It's not on the voters. It's not on people like Dr. West or Congressman Phillips or Marianne Williams, et cetera, et cetera. It is on them. Period. They lost the popular vote and they lost the electoral college vote. And I don't know, I think it's asinine to think over 300 million people can fit into two political categories anyhow. Let me just throw that out there. But I get it. Let's keep having this conversation. Let's keep having this debate. So, Sister Shayla, we appreciate you very much, Sister Shayla Johnson, for bringing that up. And you know what she said, Doc? She said that's a fair answer, and I appreciate it.
God bless you.
And we appreciate you too. So this is how to have like civil dialogue. We don't all have to agree. We just throwing out some stuff that you guys can go check, Dr. West and I. We're not saying any of this out of emotion. The data bears it out. And then we can debate the other stuff. Wow, it's all the way live on Truth Time today.
All the way live.
All the way live. You're listening to Truth Time on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Sure you know what's up. Hey, I am D.L. Hughley, host of the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, heard weekdays from 2 to 4 exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580. I promise to make you think a little, but laugh a whole lot more. So tune in to the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show 2 to 4 only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you, neighbor to neighbor, bringing you resources and what you need to know. For information on fire recovery resources, recovery hubs, and available services, call 211 for the City of Los Angeles and 311 countywide. Aid distribution locations, repopulation updates, and safety rules are constantly changing. Visit the LA City and LA County websites for the latest. If you'd like to sign up for the county's free debris removal, fill out a right of entry form, or get a list of disaster recovery centers that are still active, please visit recovery.lacounty.gov or call the debris hotline at 844-347-3332. If you're vulnerable to mudslides with rain in the forecast, free sandbags are being offered. Go to lacounty.pw/sandbags to find out where to get them. Businesses who have lost their facilities due to the fires can use a regional online source to get free or discounted locations. Whether you're interested in donating or finding space, you can visit the Business to Business Space Share portal at spaceshare.lacounty.gov. Additional LA County small business support and programs can be found at opportunity.lacounty.gov. Praying, advocating, and standing with you. KBLA Talk 1580.
Truth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The truth shall absolutely rise again. Doc is jumping in it's jumping in here. We can't get to all of these. I do want to put out that blessed peacemaker. You know, people are in there defending us strong. Material World 4, may God bless you both, says this 71-year-old white man. Blessings back to you, our brother too. Mark H, thank you all for showing up at the ADOS conference. You are so welcome. Big Cheese, I see you just want to go there with me today. I'm not going to fall for it. Not today. We'll get back on, talk some more with you tomorrow. But I do appreciate you calling me Senator Turner, showing me that respect. I really do appreciate that. I can't say it clearer than I've said it. This country owes a debt to the descendants of enslaved people. That certain segment of the population. Reparations are owed. I don't know how much clearer I can be on that. And blessed peacemaker Doc said, thank you, Dr. West, for bringing up the U.S.-backed Rwandan invasion of DR Congo. So we got the Congo, we got Sudan, we got all of that stuff happening. A whole bunch of people are thanking us for telling the truth. So yeah, that's what we do on Truth Time, Doc. I'm loving this engagement that we're having, because you know what? All of our viewers on YouTube, at least, I mean, they could be doing something else. But they are with us today, even in engaging in this robust dialogue, and that's how it's supposed to be.
That's exactly right. And again, we just blessed to be with our dear brother Tavis Smiley. You know that
we are.
He gives us this kind of platform, and folk can hear it on the radios and things all over Southern California. They can hear it all around the world.
Yes.
The social media and the technology, and we still saying exactly the same thing that we would be saying at Pentecostal Powerhouse Church in South Central.
Amen.
Los
Amen.
Angeles.
Amen to that, Doc. Yeah,
the same thing.
We're blessed. I mean, thank God for Brother Tavis and the entire team. And that's why all of our people, whether you're watching or listening to us on YouTube or you're in your car, we have got to support progressive Black radio. So we got to keep KBLA Talk 1580, keep it strong. We got to keep it strong. We need independent platforms just like this. So we do count it all joy. So many comments, Dr. West, and I will not be able to get to any more today, but we will try our best. We will try our best most days. We can't say every day, but we will definitely try our best most days to be in dialogue with you. This is so much fun, and you all edify us, whether we're 100% in agreement or not. That's not our prerequisite. I think there's a Chinese proverb that goes something like this, Doc. If two people always agree, one is not needed. Hello, somebody.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah. Hello.
That's rich.
Two people always agree, one is not needed. Now, some people want to be contrary just to be contrary. Now, that's when I'm going to lose my patience. But other than that, the teacher in me, has a lot of patience. So we definitely appreciate each and every one of you. So, Doc, imperialism on our watch. You have the president of the United States of America just casually saying, yeah, let's just go ahead on and displace the Palestinians. Let's make this a beachy area, a tourist area. And you, Arab nations, go on and take these Palestinians because they can't come back.
Yeah, and we just have to call that for what it is. That's barbarism. America's been imperial from the very beginning, but there's, again, degrees and gradations of it. And when you have levels of barbarism that are undeniable, and Trump and company won't even acknowledge who has facilitated that kind of barbarism. It's and now they shifting to the West Bank. Now they might be the war may start all over again. That the ceasefire may be over. You see why? Because they got to tell the truth. that Israel did not follow through on the agreements. It was supposed to have a certain number of trucks. They only had a small number of trucks, certain amount of food. They only had a small amount of food. They didn't follow through. This is not any kind of uncritical defense of Hamas. Hamas got its own problems. We won't even go into that right now. But we're talking about when you make an agreement, you got to follow through. And if you don't follow through, then you got to take responsibility for the violations.
You breach.
And Trump has nothing to say about those truths and realities. He's just 19th century imperialist with the deep racist sensibility and the predatory capitalist intention of saying, look, we want to create the Riviera. For who? Me and my friends. Oh, I see.
19th century all the way. We used to be an isolationist nation, starting with President George Washington. And then as we put upon the 19th century, the Spanish-American War, things started to change. We got to take over Cuba. We're going to take over Hawaii. We're going to take over the Panama Canal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Woo, baby. You are listening to Truth Time on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
They can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips, I am a revolutionary.
On Saturday, February 22nd, you are invited to A Night with the Panthers, a special fundraiser dedicated to supporting Black Panther veterans who now require assistance with essential needs such as medicine, food, and housing. These Black Panther veterans championed human rights, fed the hungry, educated the community, and stood as powerful symbols of resistance and resilience. Despite their incredible sacrifices, loving and serving the people did not come with retirement plans or financial security. So, now it's our time to honor their legacy and ensure that they are cared for with the dignity they deserve. You can help by attending and supporting A Night with the Panthers, Saturday, February 22nd, 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Project 43 Team Post Center, 6841 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles. For more information, contact Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. That's Black Panther Party Breakfast at gmail.com or call 707-554-2784. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I have a dream today.
They said it couldn't be done. They said we wouldn't make it. But history had other plans. This February, KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates the dreamers, the doers, and the breakthrough makers of Black History Month. Your station, your stories. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry,
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Yes, you are, Doc. Well. It is about that time where we will be wrapping things up. Doc, since you raised, so we're talking about imperial nature of this country, we want people to recognize that this didn't start with Trump, which is why we're going back in time to wrap that history around in a very quick fashion. And speaking of history, they don't want to miss our Teach-In Thursday. Our second one is coming up on tomorrow. Please tune in or turn up the dial for that. So, Doctor, my Nina notes today, I'm thinking you lifted Minister Malcolm X. So I want to throw this one on you. He said, I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it is for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost, and as such, I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. That is the one and only Minister Malcolm X. Ooh. That's my note.
Malik Shabazz. Nobody
Yeah.
like him. Nobody like him. We don't
Nobody.
exist without him, his love, his service, his sacrifice, his truth telling. He was always in truth time, making it the right time with all of that rich courage flowing out of his heart and soul. And those words, that's about as fearless and plain and frank speech you can imagine.
I mean, if we all could pick that up, I'm for truth no matter who it's for or who it's against. In other words, the only side I am going to pick is the side of truth.
Side of truth. Justice too.
Come on. I'm a humanitarian, you know, and as such.
He's still a Muslim, he's still a black man, and at the same time, he's for truth and justice for humanity across the world.
That's it, Doc. That was it. And he went to the UN. He took the United States of America before the UN for war crimes against black Americans in this country. Baby, they don't make them quite like that. Minister Malcolm X, his family is suing the federal government over his or the New York, I believe, over the assassination of their dad. I am so glad that they are bringing that forward. And speaking of bringing forward, we can't wait to come forward with you tomorrow for our Teach In Thursdays that you can only get here on Truth Time. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The Trump administration is scrapping Biden-era Title IX guidance on NIL revenue sharing, allowing schools to pay athletes based on sports value. College football and men's